Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a devotional called God's Loving Discipline Leads Us Home.
Mm-hmm.
And it really focuses on a specific passage, 2 Kings 24:8-17.
Right. And the central theme, really, is this idea that events that seem negative on the surface, well, they might actually be God's loving discipline.
Discipline meant to, what, bring people back?
Exactly. To bring us back home,
Yeah.
as the title suggests.
Mm.
So our mission today is to sort of unpack that perspective on hardship.
Okay, and see how it might be relevant for, personal reflection.
Yeah, how we can understand difficult times, maybe find some purpose in them through this particular lens.
Got it. So let's jump into the first lesson from the devotional. It talks about God using hard moments to, wake us up.
That's the idea. It uses the example of Judah's surrender to Babylon. 2 Kings describes King Jehoiachin.
Oh, right. Him and his mother, the officials, nobles, everyone taken prisoner.
Yes, the whole court, basically. Taken away in the 8th year of the Babylonian king's reign, a major, major event.
And the devotional says this wasn't just politics or war.
Precisely. It frames it as God's act of discipline. Because Judah had been rebellious, turned away.
So less like a random defeat, more like a deliberate correction.
Mm-hmm. Correction with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
A way for God to call people back through trials, through these really tough moments.
It's an interesting way to reframe things. It shifts the question, doesn't it?
It does. Instead of just asking, why me? Why is this awful thing happening?
You ask, okay, what's the lesson here? What am I supposed to learn?
Exactly. The devotional really stresses that this kind of discipline isn't meant to be purely punitive. It's corrective.
Like a sign of care, almost.
That's the angle. Trusting there's a bigger picture, a purpose behind it, even when it hurts. It encourages you to pause.
Pause and reflect, even in the middle of the storm. Okay.
Right.
So that brings us to the second lesson, which is sin always has a cost. Choices have consequences.
Right. And the devotional points directly back to that historical event. Judah kept turning away from God, and what happened?
They lost. Well, pretty much everything important.
Their king, their leaders, their land, even the treasures from the temple. Huge losses.
So it illustrates that principal actions, or maybe inactions, can lead to losing blessings.
Definitely. It shows that sin, that turning away, it erodes things. It has real-world consequences.
But the devotional doesn't just leave it there, does it? It's not all doom and gloom.
No, not at all. That's really important. Even in that failure, even with those consequences, the message is that God doesn't give up.
So restoration is still possible.
Yes, he initiates restoration. It's not the absolute end. There's always a path back.
Okay, so how does that translate into, practical advice? What does the devotional suggest we do?
Well, a few things. It talks about confessing sin, acknowledging where we've gone wrong, and doing it early.
Right, not letting it build up.
Exactly. And also valuing the blessings we have by honoring God, by living in a way that reflects that value.
Makes sense. What else?
Turning to God for mercy when we do make poor choices, because we all do. And importantly, showing others that same grace, letting people know that grace is always available, no matter what.
So it's a cycle. Confess, value, seek mercy, extend grace.
You got it. It's about acknowledging, appreciating, reconciling, and forgiving, both receiving it and giving it.
Okay, so wrapping things up, the devotional ends with a prayer, and then there's a kind of final takeaway message.
The prayer is really about acknowledging God's corrective care, trusting his work, even in hard times, and asking for humility.
And that core message, the one-word takeaway.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
God's discipline isn't the end. It's a path back to his love.
That really sums it up, doesn't it? Discipline not as a dead end, but as a redirect.
Yeah, pathway back.
So here's something for you, the listener, to maybe think about. How might your perspective change if you started viewing challenges, not necessarily as punishment, but as potential discipline?
As opportunities for growth, maybe? For learning?
Exactly. Could seeing things through that lens encourage, deeper self-reflection, maybe a stronger reliance on faith?
It's definitely a thought-provoking idea. How hardship might actually be shaping us, drawing us closer to what matters.
Something to consider. Well, thanks for this deep dive today.
Thank you.